We need to go out of this notion that happiness is this always smiling, always being happy, always, everything just has to be so perfect and so good. And life is not like that. There is this saying that, a man always needs to allow the woman to go to the woods and weep. Because a woman always needs to weep. It's such a profound experience to be pregnant, because actually it is the time when the mother is in the full lap of God, because something is being created in her completely out of her control. So only from our mother are we carrying our mitochondria. So that means every cell has a mitochondria that is our powerhouse. So if we are rejecting our mother, we are also rejecting life to a certain way. And if we are constantly busy looking over our shoulders, not wanting to be like our mother, we are never really fully looking at life. We are never fully engaging in life.
I asked my mother, how was menopause for you? And she said, honestly, it was a little bit, it felt like nothing. It was fine. I barely noticed it. But when I did, it shot little energy blasts up my spine, and I found it enjoyable, she said.
You have so many women that are, starting their career at 60.
That's true.
Yeah.
Reinventing themselves.
They are completely reinventing themselves. They are exactly going to the underworld. Things that they were tolerating before can't be tolerated anymore.
Motherhood is a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
And I also see that as much as mothers are teachers, the children themselves and that development path are teachers to us as well. This reminder to come back to our essence.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, my children are my greatest teachers.
Welcome to the Enlighten DXB podcast. I'm your host, Erika, and it's my absolute pleasure today to have a repeat guest, one of my favorite guests from last season, May-Britt Searty, with us. She's a family constellation therapist and a trainer, and a naturopath. And I love this. In the back of your book, your latest book, May-Britt, you talk about guiding individuals and families through sacred journeys of deep personal development. And I know this is true because you've guided me in the past. Thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's my honor to be here. And you always are such, and I understand you're calling it the enlightened.
Yes.
Because you are really such a light, and it's beautiful. So thank you so much for having me back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And generally, I love speaking with you. You have such a beautiful energy, and there's a motherly energy that I think a lot of people resonate with. The last time you came on the show, we spoke a lot about your mother's journey and how that's impacted you, and in fact, potentially supported you in your own spiritual and healing journey. And at the end, you told me that you would be coming out with this book, 9 Letters to My Mother. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
I first want to start with, it says here about conscious pregnancy and conscious motherhood. Why was it so important for you to write this book? And what is the message that you wish for it to convey?
How many podcasts do we have to make? So, this book really started when I was pregnant with my daughter. Because, of course, I bought all the necessary books, about motherhood. And none of them resonated with me.
And this was how many years ago?
Like 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago. And then I was so playful in my pregnancy, and I knew it was a girl. I don't know why, but I knew. I didn't have any scans ever, but I knew. My husband also knew, so we called her already Sophia. And I was already writing then. So I started writing, funny letters to myself from her, And so this is how it started. And then, of course, I was thinking, okay, maybe it's not really worth it. I don't know, should I do it? Not. It went into the drawer, and then we moved, and it went to another drawer, and then it was stored somewhere else. Life happened, another child, and a third child. And then 3 years ago, I really took it out seriously, and I said, I really want this to be done. I went through a very difficult time. I had I don't know if I had a breakdown or I had a really bad illness that left me a little bit hanging. So I said, okay, it's time to take this out. It was another dive deeper. And then it just really all unfolded. I took all those old letters out, and I really wanted to bring, number one, my mother's story to light, which is in the book. And I wanted to give to women and to mothers in general a book that has an emotional and mental element to pregnancy. Something that brings about, what should we call it, a companionship to nurture yourself before you also nurture your child. And so this is
how
this
beautiful.
Is basically.
I'm curious, I want to double tap a little bit on this breakdown that you had 3 years ago. And it's knowing your past story as well, it seems like in those darkest moments, something beautiful emerges. And we all do that in our spiritual development. We just find deeper meaning and push ourselves and evolve ourselves into the next version of ourselves. Can you speak more into that?
Yes. It came out of the blue, where I woke up in the night. I had I felt it was an explosion at the back of my head.
Oh, wow.
And then I woke up and I was very unstable. And I thought, oh, maybe I had a stroke or something. God, who knows,
Wow.
Not that there was any reason for me to have one, but I didn't have a stroke. And then I was tested, I had COVID. And then I got all the symptoms for a flu and all those other things. And then I had started having boils out of my, head. I looked like a monster. I had a swelling of the top of my head, the back of my head. And I couldn't lie down for 4 months. I had difficulties really walking properly. And so I was really completely taken off this specific journey. And then so many other things happened where I was being put on an iron drip that I know as a naturopath you absolutely don't do. I don't even know how I ended up there. I had an anaphylactic shock. And I had to relive this anaphylactic shock every day, every night for 3 months.
Oh my goodness.
So I was just in this, all right. Okay, here you are. And then my mother-in-law died, my father died, also within, a span of a couple of months after each other. And it was like, okay, this is a completely different phase in my life. And, I was a bit of a daddy's girl. So this little girl also left with my father, of course. And as that also happened, somehow, the book then also came out, and I felt, it was like going to the underworld. I went to the underworld and was being recharged. There is this saying that, a man always needs to allow the woman to go to the woods and weep. Because a woman always needs to weep. Yeah.
Yes, we do.
And there was this really deep weeping that was taking place, both physically, emotionally. And there was a very big release that was taking place. And it was like whatever now had to come out and whatever had to be resolved and looked at, it was like an initiation. We just had this, we were just reading the runes beforehand.
Yeah.
Which where they were talking about an initiation, and I really felt that it was an initiation. And yeah, it was very humbling in so many ways. And I feel so grateful for the book because, you know, I had so many downloads. You know, some of the things when I'm reading, I said, oh, yes.
How wise I was.
Yes, how wise was I when I wrote this book? And in particularly all the letters from the fetus to the mother was really a download. And I was so helped, so guided, and so many people were supporting me in this journey. So yeah, I'm so grateful.
Thank you for sharing that story, because I think all of us in humanity goes through these moments.
Yeah.
And we often talk about Kali energy, the goddess that comes and sort of rips everything out of your life. And, you know, people are always down and you know, on the floor. And you get to a point where you just have to surrender to the divine. And it really sounds like that's what you did. And what came out of it was the birth of a new book, of a new creation.
Yeah, it was the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm studying further studies in Jung's analytical process. And when you also look at Jung's journey, you know, he was also brought to his knees so many times. And it was always, you know, another way. And we can, of course, light can only shine through, you know, the cracks in the darkness.
Absolutely.
That then leads to a new journey. And
enlightenment in some ways.
And it was my second Saturn return. So, you know, in this time, so I'm now slowly coming out of that, the last couple of months of that. And
welcome back from the underworld.
Thank you.
And I
feel grateful.
It's also such a beautiful reminder to all of us, because I think all of us that live our everyday lives, we're constantly, I think in today's age, we're seeking comfort. We're seeking to optimize for happiness. And it's such a beautiful reminder that that's just not real life. And there's real beauty found in the darkness.
Yeah, this is the thing, because particularly in this spiritual realm of therapy, you know, it's all about this seeking happiness. And the question is, what is happiness? Yeah. And we need to go out of this notion that happiness is this always smiling, always being happy, always, you know, everything just has to be so perfect and so good. And life is not like that. Yeah. And sometimes things happen, and we are also busy often in analyzing, why did that happen? Maybe she did like that. And, you know, she maybe also overdid this. And, you know, we are always trying to find something, why something is happening. And it's not so simple, you know, and I can see it also with, you know, the thousands of women I have worked with. It's not just so simple. Life is not just, you did that and then this is happening.
Yeah.
It is so much more complex, and we are complex human beings.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think in this day and age where we have these podcasts or Instagram and all of these socials, we are seeing that, the success stories, right? And every day I sit down with startup founders and investors in my day job, and I realize that there's not one of those stories where you think it's a fairy tale Cinderella story and they had a great idea and then boom, you know, everything's hunky-dory. In fact, some of the most successful business people I know have suffered the most.
Yeah.
And these are stories that I wish we could shed more light on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's, you know, becoming an author, I have realized that in the last 3 years, you know, you can do anything you want in your life, but are you willing to sacrifice sitting day out and day in and sit and write this book? Yeah. I mean, of course, you have so many ways to write a book today. You can also get somebody to write it for you if you want. But if you really want to write your own book, the whole editing process, the formatting process, the, you know, changing elaborating. I had so many things in the book that I took out. I had a story for every chapter also. That was also connected with my mother's story. So I had also my own stories growing up with my mother, but the book was just becoming too big. So this is for another book. And my whole idea was really also bringing my mother's story into the book is to encourage everyone to become curious about their mother's story. Every mother has had a complex story, and even our grandmother. We spoke about it last time. When our grandmother is pregnant with our mother, she's pregnant with us too as a woman. She's carrying the egg where we are becoming pregnant. Or when our mother becomes pregnant, that we are in our mother's womb. And so becoming curious about our mother's story to get a better understanding. We can also get a better understanding of ourselves, of our relationship with our mother. And so this is really what I would like to see too, coming out of this book is really, and for our own story to be told,
Because all of our relationships with our mothers are complex over the decades that we get to know them, isn't it? And I'm sure through your practice with family constellation and energetically working with ancestral lines, you see so many different men and women, and their relationship to their mothers is so pivotal.
It is so pivotal, and it's the most complex relationship we will ever have with anyone in our lives. Because we are feeling her emotions when we are in her womb. We are understanding actually how are we communicating with our father? How are we communicating with the world? If our mother is very afraid of the world, we might also be born and already have a fear of the world, because that is how our mother has been interacting when we were in her womb.
And we spoke about that last time, how some of your grandmother's traits or fear and your mother's fear or desire to be heard, that these sort of guilt and shame, some of these things had been ancestrally passed down to you. I'm curious, do you know what you have passed down to your daughter?
What I have passed down to my daughter? Oh, that's a good question. We should call her and ask her. But I think I passed down a strength. I passed down creativity. She's an excellent writer. She's much better than me. She should have been writing this book. She's very articulate. I think a gratitude for life, really.
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting your daughter, but a few of my friends know her well, and they speak so highly of her. And they all speak highly of you as well, to having given birth to such a soul. Yes,
really. I mean, I always say, of course, we are the gatekeepers, and we can only hope that maybe our children will walk through that gate, and if they don't, we can't do anything about that too. And I think the book is really also an encouragement for mothers, because the book is also to be read for who are already mothers, who have already given birth to. There's a lot of nuggets, there's a lot of tips of how you can communicate also with your child, with yourself too. And making sure that, I never spoke a baby language to my children, to any of my children. And I was always taking my children very seriously. So we were always having a dialogue, and we were always sitting around the table, of course also with my husband, and we were always having a communication. And I think that also helped a lot in their own relationship with themselves. So we have a communication about any problems that might arise, about any desires. And, I was always strict. I mean, I am not co-facilitating, but my daughter is sitting next to me as I'm doing my training in family constellation. And she is bringing some funny things to the conversation, exactly about, no, we were not allowed to watch TV for a long period of time. We were not allowed to have many gadgets. Everything was always natural. I always took them shopping. You can't read it, don't eat it. Yeah. So they learned that from the very beginning, and to engage in life. And I think that's the greatest gift we can give to our children.
Absolutely. I also would say I'm not a mother myself, but I found so many beautiful nuggets in here. And I think if you have a mother, which is everyone on earth, I think, and you're inclined to want to live a conscious life, this is a beautiful book to go with. And one of the first things you discuss in the book is the life cycles, the stages of development, which seems to weave throughout the book. And I found this so fascinating. I thought it made perfect sense. You speak about every 7 years being linked to a different chakra. So that your first 7 years of development being linked to the root chakra, and a time of building physical foundations, security, and trust. Then age 7 to 14 with the sacral chakra all around creativity and emotional connections. Can you talk to us a little bit about these stages? And yeah, I was really trying to retroactively go back, and I thought, wow, yeah, I think I also developed in this way. And because I'm not yet 49,
yes,
I'm not yet 41, I'm almost 40, I'm not quite at the crown chakra stage. And I'm so curious, your experience through these different stages, but also to learn from you what comes at, when we're at our third eye and also our crown chakra stages of development. What does that mean? What does that feel like?
Yes. So I was always inspired by Rudolf Steiner, and actually, Rudolf Steiner, Goethe also spoke about that with the 7-year cycles. And I wanted to place that in the book, both for a coming mother to understand what is that development of your child going to be like, but also reflecting upon their own, your own journey.
Development, absolutely.
Of the 7 years. And so we are changing every 7 years. And for every 7 years, there's of course so many other developments that are taking place in those 7 years, of course. However, it is a very good guideline. It's a little red thread that we can look at that, this is what's happening. So when my child is in the third cycle, from 14 till 21, at one moment they are the adult, and the next moment they're the child. And as a parent, we need to be discerning of when is it the time that I really need to hold this child, and when do I need to communicate as an adult.
And so you're speaking about the third cycle, age 14 to 21.
Yes.
It's the solar plexus where we're really gaining independence.
Our power, exactly, our independence, our power, we know better than anybody else.
I can remember that. And I still feel very strongly connected to my my solar plexus, where it's about individuality and sort of removing yourself and defining yourself independently from your parents.
Exactly. Yeah.
And from 21 to 28 then would be the heart chakra.
That's the heart.
Where we're all falling in love.
Several times in a day.
or suffering from a broken heart for most of it, which was my case.
Exactly.
And then we get to, and I really think this is apt, from age 28 or 29 until 35 is the throat chakra.
Yes.
So finding our voice, finding how we express ourselves, and can we express?
Yes, exactly. How exactly can we express, and what do we want to express? How do we want to assert ourselves? Which can also change several times. And So this is from 28 to 35, yeah. And then we go from 35 till 42.
Which is where I am.
Yes, that's maybe also where you really have a peak in your career, when you really have a certain vision of where you really would like to go, what you would like to do with your life.
So third eye is very much about clarity.
It's about clarity, having a vision.
Discernment.
It's also about really, it's our other intuition also, when we can maybe see things that is not visible with the eye, with our physical eye.
So really strengthening that inner intuition.
Exactly.
And you call them whispers in your book.
They're whispers, yes.
I call them downloads. Sometimes I get random downloads that are absolutely brilliant.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then from 40 to 43 until 49.
So, yes.
Tell me about this.
So, so from 42 to 49, this is, of course, when we look at these chakras, it goes, of course, from up here, land in our heart, and then it goes out from that place
deeply rooting downward
in the roots. And this is really when we are getting maybe a higher connection with God, with the universe, our higher self, whatever we want to call that, where we get deeper spiritual connection. And, we have maybe been already at the peak of our career. We are searching for something more, something deeper, a deeper connection. Yeah, now we have been so busy in this material world. Now we need something else. Yeah? And then after that, after 49, so from 49 till 56, we then go back in our roots.
Interesting.
So then we go
back. So the
next
50 years is also in 7-year cycles?
Exactly.
Oh,
so then it's again so we are deepening. So of course maybe childhood traumas comes up from 49 till 56. It's when we as women, of course, stops our period.
Of course.
And
Menopause.
There is a completely new cycle that is taking place for us. Yeah. Where we are getting another internal fire. That, you have so many women that are, starting their career at 60.
That's true.
Yeah.
Reinventing themselves.
They are completely reinventing themselves. They are exactly going to the underworld. Things that they were tolerating before can't be tolerated anymore. These are the things that are happening during
purification in the second round.
And then we are setting the foundation for another journey at 49, So we are setting a new foundation, a foundation where we can choose,
Wow.
That's something that was given to us, of course, as a child.
Wow, that puts my grandmother's life in such a different perspective now, because she lived until 102.
Yes.
And I would love to map that across her, but how beautiful that we get to do this
exactly
in 2 cycles.
Yeah. Yes, it is so profound. And, this is, of course, also when I had this journey, was during that time, was at the end of my root chakra, till I'm going back up to the second chakra, where I'm at now.
And how does that feel the second time around in sacral? I mean, obviously it matches to you publishing a book and this creativity. I
mean, to be honest, so many people are dreading their menopause and, have to go on this medication, those symptoms. And I'm definitely not saying I didn't have any symptoms. However, I had a blast.
Tell me about this.
Really?
Tell me, because I asked my mother as well, and they do say it's genetic, and I'm hoping so. But I asked my mother, how was menopause for you? And she said, honestly, it was a little bit, it felt like nothing. It was fine. I barely noticed it. But when I did, it shot little energy blasts up my spine, and I found it enjoyable, she said. And I said, well, count your lucky stars, because I've heard horrible stories about menopause, because our brain rewires during that time. We really are, on a molecular level, changing as women.
Yeah, of course.
We're being rewired, aren't we?
Yeah, of course, because of course, this shedding of the blood, the monthly cleansing that we are having is not taking place anymore. So that means, what am I going to do with that energy? Yeah, so we are going to get an enhanced energy, actually. And many women might also fear that, because it is also about that we are setting new boundaries. No, I'm not accepting that anymore. No, I cannot do this anymore. No, this is how I want to do it. So many women, of course, maybe get afraid of that too, because there might be a relationship that might be at risk. They might be afraid of not being accepted of society, or whatever it may be. Yeah, and there is also a burst of creativity. Yeah, because now I need to release in another way. So how can I release in another way?
This is why we're all witches.
That's why we are all witches. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we need to welcome that. Yeah, there is such a deep wisdom in the woman's cycle, and the cycle, of course, even continues although you don't have your period. Yeah? Yes. So we need still to tune in with that. Yeah. So there becomes, and even sexually, we are getting another new energy, and even maybe even a better energy, because now we are not so worried. Are we now getting pregnant? You know, we have to be careful not to have intercourse at certain times. So, yeah, it's a very, very, very beautiful time.
I studied neurobiology in my undergrad days, very, very long time ago. But I remember them saying that during menopause, actually, because our hormones as women, they start adjusting, we actually get our testosterone levels are low, but in balance with our other hormones in relation, it's a bit stronger. And what it does to our brain is that it rewires it in a way where we actually become a little bit more direct and logical as we grow older. And what was fascinating to me, and I don't understand the hormonal or biology behind why that is, but apparently men have the reverse effect as I suppose as their testosterone decreases after the age of around like late 40s or 50s, men actually become what you might call a little bit more feminine, a little bit more emotionally in tune, a little bit more, you know, heart open. And I thought that was a fascinating transition for men and women to navigate together.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So there becomes a different balance. Yeah. And yeah, it's beautiful.
And have you experienced something similar with your husband?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Also, he was, he softened also. Yeah, very much so.
Beautiful.
Yeah. He's also saying, we were having a conversation. I don't know who he was talking to, and he said, "Yeah, I'm shaking when my wife is talking now."
I love that. He's becoming an energetic through proximity.
So
something else that I really love about this book is you have a model that you share in it called the Sharing Heart model. And you talk about these unified shapes, the spiritual shape, the intuitive shape, mental shape, energy shape, and the physical shape. What's the importance of this framework?
So this model, now I'm calling it the Sharing Heart model, because I modified it completely to the book and the exercises that I'm offering in the book. But this is really inspired from Dr. Klinghart's 5 levels of healing that he created to help his students. I studied also with him. Of getting a better idea when a person comes with a certain ailment, that we really check on all those different 5 levels. So what is happening on a physical level, and what are the possibilities of treating, what are people also doing on a physical level with whatever they're going through, and then on an emotional level, what are we going through emotionally, energetically, and mental level, intuitive level, and on a spiritual level. So there are 5 different levels. And these levels, of course, also interact with one another. So it can be I have a physical ailment, but when I'm doing a family constellation that belongs under the intuitive level, maybe my physical ailment will disappear. Or it can be as my physical ailment is being healed, my emotional state and my mental state will also change. Yeah. So they are also interplaying with one another.
Yeah, I absolutely love that.
And of course, on a spiritual level, nobody can give you any recipe, and anyone that will give you a recipe and say that they can cure your spiritual level, run away, far away, because nobody can do that. Yeah,
Yes.
that is between you and God. But you might have something on an intuitive level, in family constellation, where you might will learn, or there will be an opening or limiting belief that will be, that will be erased, that will help you to get a different experience with God or with your spiritual path.
I love this. And I love that there does seem to be this sort of vertical movement where you start with the physical, our body is a temple, we must treat it as such. And then we move into the energetics, the emotions, the nervous system, and then the mental, the thoughts, the intuitive, the dreams, symbols, and meditative states, and then the spiritual shape where we do connect with God. And I wonder, I don't know, but I want to ask you, does that mean that if we seek healing on a spiritual plane, that perhaps if we're healed there, then we can heal all things below? Or do you think it has to be an integrated approach to healing?
Yeah, I mean, there's never any quick fix. Yes. So anyone who is going to tell you that there is a quick fix for something, I mean, I would like to meet this person, because I have not had this experience myself in life. And I don't know anyone who has had that experience. So I would say anything always have to be integrated. Yeah.
And purged on many levels and addressed on many levels.
Yes. And of course you have maybe certain epiphanies, or if you do any kind of, plant medicine maybe, and you have a certain revelation, yes, that can heal something instantly, and it still has to be integrated. And there's still many other layers to that.
Yes. Absolutely. But yes, I can imagine that perhaps you have a moment of intuition and insight, and that changes your thinking about something, a long-held belief you've had for a very long time. And somehow without that limiting belief, your emotions are not so charged anymore.
Of course.
And then you're not walking
Holding
around
on.
super tense and contracted.
Yeah.
So, how beautiful. Very beautiful.
So this sharing heart model, so for every chapter in the book, I have exercises that are then based on those 5 levels of healing, these sharing heart routines, as I'm calling them.
You also have a section, and you already spoke into it, about the importance of knowing your mother, even if she's not here with us anymore. Can you speak into that? Why is it so important for us to put ourselves in the shoes of our mothers or grandmothers?
Because that's where we came from. Yeah, energetically we are so connected with our grandmother, with all the grandmothers, and whatever happened in our grandmother's life. Yeah, so it keeps rippling back. I'm always saying going back to the grandmother, so that means we go back to all the mothers. Yeah. So whatever our grandmother had of an experience, part of us, we are carrying that too. Yeah. Whether we want it or we don't want it. But it's there, even if we never met her, even if she passed away long before we were born. Yeah. It has such an important impact. And when we are resenting our mother, our grandmother, we are resenting that part of us too. We are resenting part of ourselves too. Because inevitably, we are taking on certain things from our mother and our grandmother.
It cannot be helped. We are fractals of our parents.
We are fractals, and we always, this leaf that are falling on the ground still belongs to the tree. Yes. And we always have to understand that. Yeah. That we have this emotional, spiritual, energetic, physical also connection with our grandmothers. And of course, we have to also understand that we are half our father and half our mother plus. So only from our mother are we carrying our mitochondria. So that means every cell has a mitochondria. That is our powerhouse.
It's our energy, isn't it?
That's our powerhouse, and that comes only from the mother. All of us, the whole of humanity.
Wow, I did not know that. Wow.
Yes, exactly. So that means, is our mitochondria low? Yeah, we have so much talk now about mitochondria health. Yeah. And when we talk about mitochondria health, actually, medically, we need to talk about the mother. Yeah, we need to go in and talk about what happened. Yeah, what, am I born maybe with a weaker constitution because of whatever trauma that is taking place? Yeah, and so that's why it is so important.
You touched on it there about why it's so important to navigate that motherly ancestral line. But you also mentioned, of course, we are half our fathers as well. And earlier you mentioned you were a daddy's girl. Can you talk to me a little bit about the importance of maybe even doing some of this work with our paternal line? Is there a calling there?
Yes. So I think I would like just to go back to the mother, because we are, of course, being given life through our mother, and only through our mother can we survive. That's very clear. Yeah, and it's only through our mother that life has come to us. So if we are rejecting our mother, we are also rejecting life to a certain way. And if we are constantly busy looking over our shoulders, not wanting to be like our mother, we are never really fully looking at life. We are never fully engaging in life. Yeah. So we always keep stuck at what I don't want, rather than going into a certain acceptance and seeing her as this normal human being that had that whatever experience, and she did what she could. And can we go in and have that acceptance of that deep yes? Then we can look at life fully. And we can fully then engage in life how we want, not how we don't want to be. Yeah. So that's one part. Now our father's line, of course, so our mother is nurturing, holding us, and our father will be the one kicking us off the edge. Yeah, because our mother can't really do that. Yeah. So our father is the one that is pushing us over the edge. And we can be born with this bundle of creativity that we are all born with. However, depending on our relationship with our father, how are we now going to be able to implement that in life? Yeah? How are we going to be able to express that creativity in life? Yeah? That comes through our father.
Interesting.
Yes. So how are we then able to, move out in life, get that job, stay in that job, maybe coming up with other ideas, doing different kind of projects. This all comes from our father.
What would you say to someone who was raised by a mother that seemed to hold both energies, or maybe they were less maternal and more paternal in creating independence in their children?
Yeah.
Or even thinking about how many single parents there are these days?
Yes. So, of course, there's several aspects in that. Now, when we have a single mother, I'm always saying, no matter if you're a single mother, no matter what the father did, no matter how much you hate the father, in particularly when the mother has sons, you always in front of the son speak highly about the father. And then you can curse him behind their back to your girlfriends, for example. Yeah. And the same thing goes with the father. If the father is a single father, that happens also. Yeah, the father needs to always show respect towards the mother. Yeah, then the child can grow up with a much better balance. Yeah, because then the son can become a man knowing that he has those qualities from his father no matter what. Yeah, but if the mother always bashes the father and is very negative towards the father, then that child maybe grows up without being able to fully integrate his manhood because he's so afraid to be like his father. Yeah.
And even perhaps if with daughters, if
and daughters,
you know, if the masculine energy is to go out and conquer the world and see it that way, then perhaps there would be limitations there.
Yes, absolutely. And so very important when we have a man, that the man has his father behind him to support him, his grandfather behind him, then he can stand as a man. Yeah? And the woman, the same thing, stands with her mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and so forth. Yeah. So when we can have a couple coming together like that, yeah, then there can be a good respect. If we have like a daddy's girl and a and a mama's boy. Difficult. Everybody wants to have their own way. Wants to be right all the time.
Interesting.
So that's not so easy. So the father absolutely is very important. And in the book, I am always encouraging in many of the exercises to do this with the man too. And I had at some point a little project for the men to read the book too. And many, many men could really relate to the book because a man, of course, in pregnancy is often a little bit sidelined because he's not carrying the child. So it's not so easy to tune in to maybe what's happening. And, of course, he's not also getting the same hormones than the mother is. So many of the men reported that this letter from the fetus to the mother really helped them to connect. Oh, yeah, there is a child coming. Oh, this child is talking to me. And
it's a beautiful exercise.
Yeah.
Are the letters from the fetus in this book the same ones that you carried from house to house over the last 30 years?
So, yeah, and they're much more elaborated. So they're much more elaborated and also relevant to our time. Yeah. So many things, of course, are also happening. So it is also, of course, up to date with what's happening here. So many things unfolded as I was writing them and taking them out because they were all written on paper. So as they were taken out and I started writing, so many other things were coming. Yes.
And did you share them with Sophia before you wrote the book when she was growing up?
She was also, yes, some of them I did, but not all of them. No, it was only much later that I shared them with her.
Wow, and what was the reaction?
No, she absolutely loved them. Yeah, she absolutely loved them.
And your pregnancy, was it a lonely one? How was it?
No.
It was good.
I had
easy pregnancies.
I had all easy pregnancies. I loved being pregnant. I mean, I could have had 20 kids, I think.
You were one of those unicorns.
I loved being pregnant. And I had a birth complication with one of them. But other than that, I really enjoyed being pregnant.
Enjoyed it.
I immediately knew their sex. I never had a scan. I gave them a name immediately, and
wow,
it turned out to always be true.
Amazing.
So, yes.
And is it true in your case that when you have a girl and when you have a boy, the pregnancies are quite different?
Yes, maybe, but not too much, to be honest. Not too much. I had a very good energy in all three of them. I had a great energy. Because you see, what is happening in pregnancy also is, of course, that the child is creating stem cells. And these stem cells are half of you and it's half of the father of the child. Yeah. So that means also a woman really gets this extra energy. And, you know, it's such a profound experience to be pregnant because actually it is the time when the mother is in the full lap of God. because something is being created in her completely out of her control. Yeah. So she's really leaning in to a completely different process as this child is developing. Yeah. So she is really getting an extra strength. So writing this book was also an encouragement for me to, in that extra strength, how can I nurture myself on all those different levels? How can I also take a real check-in and look at myself, my ancestors, of my relationship, not only with the father of the child, my relationships in general. And what do I really want? What kind of a mother do I want to be? What kind of schooling do I want for my child? What kind of medical care? What kind of vaccines? What kind of whatever do I want as a mother? Because you see, we don't ask those questions because we are only becoming a mother at the time the child is born. So that was the reason that I said I really want to ask those different questions within the book, and it happens throughout the book.
And it's a 9-month journey.
And it's a 9-month journey, yes.
Where the mother is being the woman is being transformed from, I suppose, carrier to real world mother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we go through as a woman, from a woman to a mother. And of course, we can be a mother. So the ones that are not a mother can still be very motherly. Yeah. And we are pregnant all the time anyway. We are pregnant with the unknown at all times in our life. Yeah.
Yes.
We are pregnant with uncertainties, with ideas, with so many different things in life that the book is relevant for anyone, actually.
Absolutely.
And for any woman.
There was one passage here, one of your whispers, about spiritual bypassing that I wanted you to speak more into. You start off saying, when we seek change, we often begin by rejecting the very thing we hope to transform. Speak a little bit about this. You go into talking about, sometimes you might feel like your partner and you are complete opposites, but actually until we really recognize that the similarities between partnership, this competition will always exist, and what needs to happen is cooperation. Speak more into this. I find this so very true, but yeah, I'd like more context. This idea that when we're seeking change, that maybe our first reaction is to want to reject it.
Of course, because when we seek change, why do we seek change? We seek change because there's something that we want that we don't like. Yeah, whether it's about ourselves, whether we want to, lose weight, whether we want to, change part of our face, whether we want to change our relationship, we are rejecting part of that. Yeah. And very important, between a man and a woman, there will always be tension. There has to be tension.
Polarity.
Polarity will always be like that. And this is also what keeps the relationship going. If we are all just the same, it would be so boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be absolutely boring. I mean,
although we all fantasize that, don't we?
We all fantasize that, oh my God, I'm going to find this ideal man, and he's going to tick all those boxes. He's going to be spiritual. He's going to be the provider. He's going to be, good looking. He's going to have all those things.
I know in my case, my partner wishes I loved everything that he loved because he wants to do everything with me. And we're passionate people with different passions.
Yeah.
And so he does have these moments where he's just like, I wish you wanted to go wakeboarding with me every weekend, or, you know, and the reality is, I think he has a fantasy that he would want a carbon copy of himself as a partner, but actually the fact that we do have these differences also keeps it exciting and and special.
Yes, and we can't also be together all the time. Yeah, we need to be learning to be away from each other. Having space from each other is extremely important.
Extremely healthy.
Very healthy. And then we can come together again, and then we go a little bit apart and we come together again. And we always need to look at this part of me that I want to change. I want to get rid of my anger. Yeah. because I don't like this anger. Yeah. But what do I then do instead? Because if I now ignore that anger and I want to get rid of that anger, I'm rejecting that part that might have been part of the whole family system also. Because there might have been anger in the system. And anger actually is the most raw, most real emotion we can have. Yeah? It's more real than many other emotions. And definitely more real than,
I can tell you from my experience that anger was the big one for me. And I remember being quite young. I have a twin brother, and he had some difficulty with anger. And I remember I was obsessed with quotes when I was little. And I had read this quote. I don't know who wrote it, but it felt like it was something out of a book that Buddha might write. And it said, anger is like holding onto a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else, but the only person who gets burned is yourself. And when I really thought about that at that age, under 10 years old probably, I really saw it as like, oh, anger is like a hot coal, where you're like, so angry and you want to hit someone or have a tantrum. And I remember in that moment making a promise to myself that I would never be angry. And many, many years later, in a lot of my, personal development, therapy, different coaching in order to, whether it's become a better leader or just become a better person or become whatever, a better version of myself, I realized that it constantly hit on this inability for myself to express anger and set boundaries. And so I can very much personally relate to this and how powerful words are at such a young age to make such a belief or a promise to yourself. Exactly. And it really impacted me going forwards. Obviously, nothing catastrophic happened, but I know in my soul's journey, I was deathly afraid of anger. I was fearful of it, and it felt like I was a volcano. And all this lava would spew out and everyone would be harmed. And so I just kept keeping it repressed. But of course, it would then leak out in other ways, I'm sure.
Exactly. And anger, we are born with anger. Anger is always a push. It's never a pull. Anger always has to do with a push. Yeah. And we are also pushing ourselves out in the world. Yeah. So it needs a lot of force to come out in this world.
To be birthed, yes.
Yes. So, of course, if we then have grown up where anger has been very destructive, where we maybe have been afraid of anger. So maybe I have seen my brother being very angry. I might have been afraid of that. And then I'm reading this quote, and then I'm making this promise to myself because I'm definitely not going to be like my brother, so angry. Yeah. However, anger is a very natural force that is happening because it's also a protecting force. It's also where we are putting a boundary. Yeah, we are learning to put a boundary where we are asserting ourselves in a certain way. Yeah, being angry and destructive toward somebody else is, of course, not the right thing. But when we can learn for this emotion to be able to come out. That's why, for example, the meditation that Osho created called the dynamic meditation, is really an invitation to allow for this catharsis to come out, in a safe way. Yeah?
And for those that don't know Osho's dynamic meditation, it's expressing all of the different emotions in different ways.
Exactly.
So through sort of dance and movement.
Exactly. Yeah. Catharsis. It's about standing in the now,
Yeah.
And it's about celebration also. Yeah. So it's really moving through all those different elements of life. And when we can be allowed to do that, I'm always inviting many people to, scream in a pillow, hit a pillow, something where I can allow myself, in my own room, maybe in my own space, to do that. And so many things can be revealed and relieved when we can do that in a positive way. Yeah, because then the push is then also we can move forward. Yeah, and sometimes we need to do things gentle. You know, it all depends on each individual and their experience with anger. Yeah, and in particularly, if I am now this big volcano, I might exactly be very afraid that if I will allow that, God knows what then would happen. Yeah, so then we need to allow things to happen in a very gentle way. So we are not hurting ourselves too or hurting anyone in that process, but when we can be allowed, I have seen so many beautiful results from women or men for that matter, that are allowing that.
It's interesting because as I think back to children, when you're young, so long as you feel safe, you express all of them, don't you?
Of course, you throw tantrums. You
absolutely,
you boss people around. You know, it's all there.
and in that sense, I often say I'm not a mother myself, but I can very much see through my friends and family that have become mothers that motherhood is a spiritual journey, and I also see that. As much as mothers are teachers, the children themselves and that development path are teachers to us as well. This reminder to come back to our essence.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my children are my greatest teachers. Absolutely. They taught me from the very moment I was pregnant with them, each one of them. And very, very beautiful. And if you are allowing yourself to be taught, wow, it is the most. You can learn anything, but that is really your greatest teachings of all times.
It's very beautiful. May-Britt, I could spend hours having tea with you and chatting about this. Where can people find your book? Where can they get more of you? Where can they find My Letters to My Mother?
So you can get the book from, actually on all platforms now.
Okay.
It's on Amazon.
Okay.
And on all the platforms on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Nobles. It's on God knows where. I'm not quite sure of all, but it's on all
wherever
platforms.
You could want
but
to find
wherever, on an online platform,
beautiful.
It's there.
And it's in hardback and in soft cover?
It's in hardcover and soft cover. And I think also one thing I just want to mention with the book is there's nearly 100 different exercises in the book.
Yes.
And there are about 26 exercises that are recorded. So there is a QR code at the end of some of the exercises that you can scan, and then you go into either meditation, visualization. There are guided exercises for constellation work. And so it's a very broad companion.
Yes, it's beautiful. I've read parts of it. There's some really beautiful questions as well that you ask at different stages, and some exercises to do. And I think how beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this work, this body of work, May-Britt.
Thank you.
I can see that your whole life is poured into this, and the life of your mother and your grandmother as well. But also the 30 years of coaching that you've been doing, it's very clear that it's woven in so beautifully. And so I thank you for bringing such consciousness to motherhood, pregnancy, and just the woman's spiritual path.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And I also really want to thank everyone that I have worked with, everyone in the community that always, are trusting in me and have always trusted in me. I'm now going to be working with somebody on retreats that I worked with, like, God knows, 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And somebody's daughter that is now grown up from Kenya that I'm also doing a retreat with.
Wow. That
I worked with when she was a small child. So I'm very, very humbled and very moved by all the love and all the support that I am continuously being gifted with. And so for everyone, thank you so much.
Beautiful. It's gratitude all around. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Erika.
Hey there. If you like this episode and you're getting some beautiful transmissions or are feeling inspired to support this podcast in any way, the best way to do that is to give us a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, on YouTube, or wherever it is that you're plugging into the Enlighten DXB podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at Enlighten DXB. If you want to reach out to any of the guests we have on the show, you can check out their profiles and their work at www.enlightendxb.com. And for those of you in Dubai looking for community, retreats, or additional resources, you can also sign up to our emailing list there. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Until then, I wish you more joy, more ease, and a little sprinkle of grace.